Hi, I want to take a couple minutes to talk about really great novels that I like to use for upper levels of high school French. Now, you might be like me, you might have always had access your whole career to The Little Prince, and you might have used it or maybe not sure. But if you have, you might think, nope. Hi, let's talk a couple minutes to talk about some great novels that can be used for upper levels of high school French. Now, if you're like me, you might have also used a really big one that tends to be used all over, probably the most frequently, and it's The Little Prince. It's a classic. It's wonderful. I am not denying any of that, but I'm also sick of it. It's sweet and it's beautiful and it's philosophical, yet also works for young kids and high schoolers. And I'm also a little sick of it. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 other great upper level novels that I like to use that could maybe replace Le Petit Prince or supplement what you do and create a little bit more variety for you and for students. The first one that I love to use is Le Petit Nicolas et les Copains. So the first reason that I love this is that it's so funny. I love it. It's hysterical. And the kids find it funny too. And I always point out, like, when they laugh, I say it like, isn't that great? You understand in your second language, or for some of them, third or fourth language, that that's funny. That's so awesome. And then the pride that they feel when they realize, oh my gosh, like, I recognize that something was funny in French. It's pretty cool. I also like that it's got some little illustrations, and I think that can help sometimes with language learners who are trying to figure out, well, what exactly is going on? Well, let me look at the picture. I think that's really good for them. These are also stand-alone stories, so there's great things that come from that. So you don't have to finish the book. You can start it and not finish it, and the kids really aren't missing out on anything because every chapter is a different story. Another thing that you can do, because they are standalone stories, is split them between years. So maybe you do half of the novel in level 4 and the other half in level 5. Another thing that you can do is just only use your favorite stories. That completely works. So I think the versatility of having standalone stories as opposed to one long narrative has some good selling points. This one also has a movie that goes with it, and I like to show this as well, and the kids find it really funny. The movie takes elements of a lot of different Petit Nicolas stories. I happen to use the book Petit Nicolas et les Copains, but there are several Petit Nicolas books. All of them are similar in that they are standalone stories. There's illustrations. It's all about this little boy named Nicolas and the shenanigans that he and his friends get into. They're all like elementary age, and they end up doing just, well, they felt les bêtises, and they don't know that that's what they're doing. And they're just beautifully innocent, but also so naughty. So the movie takes pieces of a lot of different Petit Nicolas stories. There are some good themes in this novel that I think can be integrated into units that you already have, maybe AP or IB or concurrent enrollment type units. And each story is going to have different things that it focuses on as well. But in general, friends, family, school, the people and places in your neighborhood really come up in this great book. Another one I love is Oscar et la Dame Rose. This one has 2 main characters. So Petit Nicolas has Nicolas as a main character, and all his little friends are characters as well. This one has, I would say, 2 main characters. Oscar is a young boy who is in the hospital dying of cancer. And Mamie Rose is, in the United States, we would maybe call it a candy striper, maybe, or a hospital volunteer. Her job is just to come in and be with him. And she really takes a great central place in the story. This story is incredibly funny. Oscar and Mamie Rose are both really hysterical characters, but also he's dying of cancer. So it's heartbreaking as well. So with my students, when we read this book, I point out when they recognize that something is funny and when they recognize that something is heartbreaking, isn't that great that you can recognize that in French? It's short. So I think this is really easy to do if you have a school structure that you're not with students a ton, or maybe like a block schedule and you're trying to finish a whole novel in one semester. This can be great for that. I do like that in the book itself, there's no real location mentioned or really any indication of race or class. So I think that can be good for helping students see themselves in the novel. And that's one of the reasons that I don't actually show the movie, because the movie assigns perceived race to the characters. So I don't show this one, but it is available. And I do know another teacher who shows it with German classes. There are some sensitive topics in this book that make it so that I actually do have a permission slip for students. I teach in a 9 through 12 public high school, and most of the things in this book would not be an issue, but I just want to have everything on the up and up with parents. So there definitely is some swearing in French, and there's some name calling that can seem pretty hurtful. For example, Oscar is dying of cancer and he doesn't have any hair, and the other kids I think refer to him as Egghead. There is another child on the wing who is a burn victim, and all the other kids call him Bacon. There is a kid who has pretty significant weight problems, and all the kids call him Popcorn. And when I read it, to me, it wasn't so much of an issue of teasing. It felt more like this is how we're dealing with the problems, because if we don't laugh, we'll cry. And it's also, I think, an issue of they're young kids, and it's just kind of a calling it like they see it and not really understanding when things are inappropriate and why. So that does open up some good conversation, I think, with students. Lastly, another sensitive topic is somewhat religious, but the idea of God. So in this story, Mamie Rose suggests to Oscar, as a way of dealing with his impending death, that he writes letters to God. And Oscar doesn't come from a religious family, and to her credit, Mamie Rose is not pushing religion at all. It's not a religion forward type of book, but it is used as an exercise, a way of processing, a way of trying to not necessarily escape, but separate himself a little bit from what's going on in the hospital and thinking about possibilities beyond death. So that also opens up some good things for chatting with students about. There are some good themes too that again could fit units you already have, maybe AP or IB. And there's different ways to tie it in. But I think if you read this story, usually one or the other theme will pop out to you as like, yes, I can run with this. This works really well. And it's a super short book, like I said. So it's really easy to get through as an adult to peruse and see if it's right for your curriculum. And lastly, I love the book Papillon dans la Cité by Gisèle Pineau. This is a really heartwarming story about a young girl. And I love that the main character is a girl and she is a girl of color. I don't think that traditionally we've had a lot of those in our upper level French curriculums. And so this one is a really good one, super appropriate. And it's got a couple different locations. This young girl is from Guadeloupe, born and raised, and then she ends up moving to Paris to be with her mother and her mother's new husband and her baby brother that she has never met. And then later in the book, she ends up going back to Guadeloupe. So it's taking place in two different places. I also like that we have a book that very distinctly features non-metropolitan France. That's pretty cool. This female character is really strong. She's got a lot of ideas. She is really grown up, and her best friend in Paris is this young boy who sometimes struggles, and she really takes the lead and helps him through some issues with friends and school, which is fun to see. There's a lot of great themes here. She wrestles a lot with what is family and what does that mean. When she moves to Paris, she finds that her mom and new stepdad are living in La Cité. And there are things that we can talk about with students regarding the banlieue and what that means and what life is like there. And there's definitely a clash of cultures as well. There is her culture from Guadeloupe, and she's seeing the culture in Paris that her mom is now a part of, and her best friend, Mo, he has an entirely different culture in his family, and she is with them a lot. So it's interesting to see how she navigates that. There's also a strong theme of education. She's really smart and a strong student, and that comes up over and over again in the book. So, what do you love? Do you have a novel that you love for upper level high school French that you think works well, has good, strong characters, has good messaging, and can fit well with some common themes? If you do, please put it in the comments below. I would love to hear.